Hi, this is Jim, back again. 20 weeks. 20 weeks. This is my journey on Cipro, the poisoning, the adverse reaction of ciprofloxacin. This is my 20-week video, 5 months. It's been a little while since I made one of these, at least 5 or 6 weeks. Gradually beginning to get some comments now in the comment section. I think as time goes on, it may be a few years down the road, but these videos will continue to have some positive effect or impact on the lives of others. I hope so. I did find lots of videos like these that other people made early on, and they did provide a lot of education and support for me and validation for what I was going through. Validation meaning other people had gone through it and I wasn't crazy, and it was actually something that was really happening. So I hope that these videos are helpful. I'm not in the same place now as I was when I made my first one at 8 weeks. That was a very difficult video to make, I recall. If you're following any of these, or if you are interested, I do have a channel. You can subscribe below and follow along in the journey. I began chronicling at the 8-week mark. That was the earliest that I was physically able to crawl out of bed and sit in a chair like I am now for 30 minutes to 60 minutes, long enough, and use my voice. Prior to the 8-week mark, I couldn't function. I couldn't get out of bed. It was all I could do to make it to the bathroom and get myself fed. To do a quick recap, and then I'll go into where I'm at physically and what's been working. We'll get into that in just a minute. To do a quick recap, if this is the first video that you've stumbled across, I took one Cipro. I was prescribed Cipro for a possible prostate infection that I apparently don't have. I don't think that I do. I don't continue to exhibit a lot of pelvic pain. It was prescribed to me by a specialist. My PCP wasn't able to really help me, so she referred me to a specialist, and he did a urinalysis and a prostate exam, which was a very interesting day. But all that was negative. The prostate exam, he said, was one way or the other. He couldn't really distinguish whether or not I had an infection, but that it wouldn't hurt to try an antibiotic to see. And at that point, I've been dealing with pelvic pain for several months, and I was willing to try. I'm thinking, it's an antibiotic. What could it possibly hurt? It's an antibiotic. I was taking steroids to control for the pain and the neuropathic flare-ups I was having from the pelvic pain. This was back in May. It's October now in 2018. This was back in May. So I've been dealing with pelvic pain all through the beginning of the year, and went to see a urologist who prescribed to me ciprofloxacin 500 milligram for a possible prostate infection. The result was where I'm at now, 5 months later. I was on steroids, methylprednisolone, the Medrol dose packs. It's similar to prednisone. It's more or less the same thing. It's a glucocorticoid. I'm very confident that the fact that I had been on steroid therapy for 5 or 6 weeks prior to and during the Cipro, that greatly moderated the effect of the reaction. It made it a lot worse. Those drugs are contraindicated. I highly recommend that you look into that. A couple of the basic principles, or the basic tenets here of toxicity to fluoroquinolone antibiotics is that, number one, they're contraindicated with steroids. Number two, they're also contraindicated with NSAIDs, with ibuprofen, Aleve, Motrin, that whole line of over-the-counter pain relief and anti-inflammatory drugs. Don't take fluoroquinolones while you're on NSAIDs or while you're on steroids. It's a very, very bad idea. There's a lot of literature and research available that's scientific and peer-reviewed that supports what I've just said, that the steroids are contraindicated. At any rate, I took one pill of Cipro and began to immediately experience joint pain and fatigue that was uncharacteristic that day, within 3 or 4 hours of the pill. It felt strange, didn't feel right. I am not a person that was on a lot of pharmaceutical drugs prior to this year. For 20 years, I really had no medical history. I haven't been on a pharmaceutical, so I'm very careful about chemicals that I put in my body. And I did a little bit of homework on Google, and obviously that's horrifying. So I discontinued after the first pill. Whether or not that was smartly, I don't know, because I took it in the first place, and I probably should have done some homework before I even took the first pill. But it's an antibiotic, so I have my guard down. I didn't realize that antibiotics, that there were classes of antibiotics like fluoroquinolones, or that class existed different from the other types, which I'm not as familiar with. But so as I understand, fluoroquinolones were initially designed to be chemo drugs, and they are very powerful antibiotics. They have fluoride molecules binded to their structure, and the action of the drug is such that it causes transcription or adduction with DNA inside the cell. It causes it to self-destruct. I'm probably not 100% on point with my terminology there, but the basic action of this drug is that it infiltrates bacterial cells and causes them to self-destruct. That's how it works. The problem is that those of us who have had an adverse reaction, that this drug, I'm sorry, the camera just took a picture. It distracted me. I don't know why the hell it did that. I got a new phone. Anyway, it apparently binds with and causes a DNA adduction, which is essentially like replacing part of the DNA code in our cells with a part of its own from the chemical. And that causes, what that means is cell replication later on as cells continue to multiply, that adduction is passed on to the new cells. So this seems to have an effect on our mitochondria. It's a mitochondrial toxicant. This antibiotic is, fluoroquinolone antibiotics are known mitochondrial toxicants. This is again supported in literature. And that's passed on through cell replication, meaning that we don't just have a reaction to this drug, it's literally changed the coding in our cells so that reaction occurs and then gets passed on through cellular replication. So it's something that we deal with. That's why the onset of the symptoms can be weeks and months later. And that's why it appears that people can clear up and more or less recover and then have some sort of an environmental exposure a year later to another chemical. They try steroids again for whatever reason. They try an NSAID. Some people have food allergies that they didn't have before, but they have an environmental exposure to something that they used to use or take in the past or eat, and because of the DNA adduction caused by the fluoroquinolone, in the future the body responds differently because we've passed that on to our cells subsequently. And that means that these reactions can go on for a long time. We can recover, but we have to be careful about, from here on out, what we put into our body, what chemicals we take, what drugs we try, what foods we eat, etc. We need to be vigilant and careful about everything. And this could be something as mundane as sunlight, from what I understand. It seems to affect everyone differently because this is a sort of a genetic effect. This is so we're all different in what interacts with our organism outside as to what causes flare-ups and symptoms. It can be different for all of us. So for me, the worst was the tendinopathy. I spent a week in the hospital and I had tendinopathy in my ankles, my Achilles and peroneal tendons, and then it spread into the rest of my connective tissue, which tendons are a part of that system, into my shoulders, into my wrists. So you guys have heard this in the other videos. If you're interested in more of the background, please check out the other videos. Where I'm at now at 20 weeks is my phone tracks my steps. So I've gone to see my PCP again. I was able to see a neurologist and a PCP about 2 weeks ago for the first time I was capable of being in the community. I've been building my strength up. I started walking back and forth to the bathroom as frequently as I could, and then I started going downstairs, and then I started going on the front porch. Then I started walking, to the stop sign in front of my house and back, and then I started to walk around the block, and then I started to walk further radius, more distance radius, further for the radius, wider radius around the house. So I would just increase distance gradually, just like you're training, athletically for anything. But the difference is we're pretty beat down. So training for us sometimes is literally 100 or 150 steps a day, which is nothing. I have a phone that tracks my steps. I was a very active and athletic person before all this happened, and but I'd never had something to track my steps like this. I just knew distances from markers on the ground, or because I knew the distances that I was running, or But this actually tracks every step, so it's helpful now in recovery. If you have an app like that, or there's probably an app online. If you're starting moving out of the acute phase, you might look at something like that, because it'll track it and then log it each day, so you can watch your progress, and you should know when you're getting near your mark that day. It seems like week to week I get a little stronger. I haven't hit 10,000 steps a day yet. Now again, I was a distance runner. I'd done a half marathon just 2 years ago. I'd run 15 years, lifted weights, played a lot of basketball. I was a very active person, so these are not great distances. 10,000 steps, but for us right now, or at least for me, that is a great deal. That's a lot of work on my body right now. That's just the way it is. It's been hard to accept, but that's where I'm at. 10,000 steps, though, is probably about what an average person will do with a job, from the time they wake up until the time they go to bed. 10 to 15,000 steps, getting around your house, getting to your car, being around work, and coming home. And of course, if you're more active, it will be more than that. So 10,000 steps is what I'm aiming at right now. I've had days where I hit 5,000, days where I hit 7,500. After about 6,000 steps, my ankles will start heating up. They'll start burning a little bit of electric pain in the Achilles area and the peroneal area in my ankles. That's the back, and then the outside where they're inverted. So those are peroneal tendons. We've got 3 major tendons down there: the Achilles, the peroneal on the outside, and then I can't remember the name of the one on the inside, but all keeping all that going and stable down there. Mine were affected on the peroneal region outside. So I'm doing what I can. I push through. I'm getting to where with this tendon stuff, I can begin to realize the difference between pain that I can push through a little bit and pain that I need to listen to and sit down. It's very frustrating because I was a very active person, to accept the fact that I can't really do as much nearly as I wanted to. I'm still not working. I'm hoping to go back to work in a couple more months, probably at least 6 or 8 weeks before I can get through a traditional work day in most any setting. It's been very difficult because we're dealing with financial problems. It's not just physical, and of course emotional. So we're really hit across the board. We're all in different places. How we're dealing with this, you need some support. I have friends and family and people that have been helping me out financially. A friend has given me a room to stay in, rent-free right now, thankfully. So that's very helpful, because someone has to help, right? We can't do this alone. We are struggling, and we're all in different places. It helps if you have people around that are trying to be supportive to you, that will listen, that will, kind of relate. And if they've been around you since the beginning, I have heard stories about people that their families are skeptical, or if it's old people, no one really listens to them, or if it's, kids, no one's really listening to them. But if you're watching this video and you have a loved one that's going through this, I encourage you to listen to what they're saying, because it's probably even much worse than you can imagine. And they're just trying to describe to you the best way that they can what they're going through. For me, it was catastrophic. It's the worst thing I've ever experienced at 40 years old. It's ending. It completely ends you spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So, we need some help, need some support. I'm in a spot now where I'm struggling financially, but I'm trying to stay out front of it however I can. I started a GoFundMe page. I'm not looking for donations here in this video, because all of you are going through this as well. But this is just ideas. If you need help, a GoFundMe page, talk to your friends, talk to your family, because getting help from the medical community can be very difficult, and disability in that route takes time, at least 6 months, and you have to get diagnosed with a condition that warrants disability. And in my situation, when I got into the hospital when all this happened, they essentially gaslit me and pretended like, or if you call it pretend, they acted like I was pretending. Yeah, that's what gaslighting means. They acted like I was exaggerating the symptoms. I was told that one Cipro wouldn't cause this, like verbatim. Mr. Fisher, one Cipro wouldn't cause this. I was told that they recommended I take Ativan, that I have a psychiatric referral. And now my PCP offered psychiatric referral and services and a benzo if I needed it for the anxiety of dealing with the stress of all this, which is helpful, but that's a different approach, you see, than when I'm in the acute phase in a hospital and their response to my physical symptoms is that I'm nuts. I mean, that's basically that I'm somatizing. That's the word that was used. I'm somatizing, which is a fancy word for making it up in your mind. And that was said to me by 3 or 4 of the treating physicians and physician's assistants while I was in the hospital. So this was, I've read about and heard some folks that found good doctors that are trying to be helpful. My PCP, who I got to see 3 months later, she's actually been helpful to me, and I'm grateful for her. And we'll get to where I'm at with that in a minute. But when this was all first going down, within the first 4 or 5 weeks, the hospital kicked me back. They didn't even want to keep me. And I actually came home after the 3rd week and went back again because it wasn't improving at the 4th week, and literally had to fight and demand with the ER doctors to admit me and figure out what the hell was wrong with me, because there was something. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk. I was crawling to the bathroom. My wrists were giving out. My shoulders were giving out. My ankles were already done. It was horrible, horrible experience. And then to go to the hospital and have them look at you like that is just an incredible, unbelievable experience. I worked in social service, as I've said in past videos. I'm not going to get into all that again, but I've done social work and mental health work. And I've heard and seen a lot of stuff. And this takes the cake. This one here, this is it happening to me. It's not probably the worst, absolute worst thing I've ever heard or seen, but it's up there. Like, it's crazy. It's just really hard to believe that the response of the medical community was to blame shift back on me. And then when I went, after they kept me for 6 days and my tests were negative and they told me to see a rheumatoid specialist, the insurance company doesn't want to pay for any more coverage. The doctors aren't admitting that fluoroquinolones have anything to do with it. They basically kicked me out of the hospital before I was able to care for myself. And I'm staying with people that have jobs. There's no one here often through the day. Like, I'm on my own. And at that point, I mean, the nurse was cutting food up for me. I couldn't hold a phone in my hand, right? And they kicked me out. And I went back again, like twice, to get help, and they kept kicking me out. They wouldn't help me. There was nothing that they would do for me, and they acted irritated with me when I went back. And all the insurance would cover was 4 days at a nursing home facility, like a skilled care facility for 4 days. What I needed was 3 to 4 weeks at least, after I was in the hospital for a week, of 24-hour care. I couldn't get that. And I was made to feel as if I was exaggerating and that I was a nuisance at that point, because the few tests that they run were negative. That's what happened to me. So I'm very angry about that, as you can imagine. But that was my experience at the 4 and 5 week mark. Again, I'm at 20 weeks now. I came back here and toughed it out. And I went through some of the most hideous, unbelievable nightmare, full-on nightmare days, hours of my life. So if you're one of the people who have been severely hit, I understand. I empathize with you. If you're going through it right now, I'm with you. I understand what you're going through. I understand how terrifying it is. I understand how scary it is. And if no one else believes you, I do. I hear you. I get it. All I can offer to you at this point, if you're in the acute phase, is that you just have to survive. You just have to suffer through. You have to survive it. Check the other videos out if you want to know what's helping me in the acute phase. You're avoiding inflammation-producing foods. You're on a lot of magnesium. There were a lot of supplements that I tried along the way. At 20 weeks, the supplements that I'm on right now that I continue to take are a CoQ10 for the cognitive stuff. I had a lot of cognitive and emotional problems as well. I was hit with the psychiatric stuff along with everything else. I have brain fog, hallucinations. I still have cloudy vision, floaters, flashers, migraines. I could feel pain in my jaw area. I connected to, it went into my head. It was in my brain. So, I experienced that as well. The CoQ10 is a good supplement for some of the cognitive stuff. It should help clear that up. It's certainly not hurting me. And I feel like it's one of the good supplements, so I'm staying with that. I had a magnesium glycinate. I've tried lots of different magnesiums. Glycinate is highly absorbable. These are pretty cheap supplements. The CoQ10, the magnesium. You need magnesium. Continue to take magnesium. I use a spray. I'm not selling any brands. An oil spray. I've tried different brands. That one is pretty cheap. It works. The magnesium spray, more than anything else that has helped me, the magnesium spray has the most immediate effect. So if you have a lot of the tendon stuff, get yourself a magnesium spray like right now. Don't wait. Get it. Use it. That quick. It helps. It improved my mobility and made it so that I could get up and move around a bit. And being able to move around a little bit, even though it's been painful, slowly has like a synergistic or cumulative effect. Like the more active you are, the more your body begins to improve and heal. Mitochondria, the healthy mitochondria will more quickly reproduce the more active you are. So get up and get moving if you can. If you can't, get through it now. But due to the point where you're just trying to make it to the bathroom, wherever you're at with it, I use this stuff every day. I've already used it this morning. I'll use it again later. I'm leaps and bounds from where I was at 8 weeks, but this stuff here was amazing. And I didn't try this stuff. People online, on the online groups, there's a fluoroquinolone toxicity group on Facebook. Join that group. It's been very good. There's several tens of thousands of people that are in it. It's a very, very good group. There's a couple other groups on Facebook. And Floxy Hope is a good one with like happy stories where people are recovering. You want to go heavy on that stuff. Be careful with the horror stories. But fluoroquinolone toxicity group on Facebook. Join it. I'm in it. Lots of good people, good moderators. Very educational, very helpful. Those people have all been through it, and you'll hear it all. They were pushing an oil spray, and I sat on that for a few weeks, but I finally got it. Should never have waited. So I'm on CoQ10. I'm on the glycinate, an absorbable oral magnesium supplement. A magnesium oral supplement. I'm on the magnesium oil also. I take a glucosamine for the joints, which my PCP recommended, and I take a daily vitamin. And I was on a collagen powder, but again, I'm strapped for cash. I don't know how much good the collagen was doing, but if you're going to try collagen, I recommend getting a powder rather than an oral supplement. And by oral supplement, I mean like a capsule. Don't get the capsules, get a powder that you can mix in with your coffee or with a drink, because the cost is the same, but the amount of collagen you get is like 5 times as much if you just bother with the powder. So try a powder instead. And then there's lots of groups and people you can check with about that. It certainly didn't hurt. And it's a good source of protein, whether or not collagen's helping connective tissue or not. The science is kind of sketchy on the collagen, whether or not it's absorbed enough for connective tissue to improve from it, but it's not hurting anything. So I did try that for a while. And I tried lots of other stuff. If you have any questions or you're wondering what I've tried and what I haven't, but that's what I'm staying on. That's what I've been on. I am improving. How much of that is placebo, how much of that is time, duration, and how much of that's actually from supplements, I honestly don't know, but this is what seems to be working, so that's what I'm staying with. I went to see my PCP. As I've been moving around a little bit, I've noticed that I've got neck pain up in my cervical region. I've never had neck issues in my life. I was very active and athletic. I think some of that is from the fact that I was in a bed pretty much atrophied for almost 3 months, 3 consecutive months. I literally spent 23 hours a day in a bed, stationary, flat on my back. I couldn't even lay on my side because of the pain with my shoulders and with my groin area. So I was literally flat on my back for 3 months. It was a hell. It was prison. But it hit my neck, and now that I'm up moving around a little bit, I can kind of notice these things. So she ordered a neck x-ray. I've had lots of tests done. Structurally, it looks good. I'm going to start some therapy on my neck area. I've had painkillers offered to me by the hospital. They're just trying to get rid of me. She's offered muscle relaxers to me, which I haven't filled yet. I don't know yet whether I'm going to try that. I might. It's not that I haven't had pain, and I do have pain now with rehabbing my ankles and moving around every day. The only pharmaceutical that I'm on is gabapentin. It's low dose, 600 milligrams a day, which is like a child's dose. It's not much at all. People get up to like 2,700 or 3,600 milligrams a day. I'm taking like a sixth of that. You know, it helps sleep. It helps me with sleep. It helps a little bit with anxiety. Where you're going to be at with all this, a lot of people, because they've been traumatized, and I was as well, they're completely anti-pharmaceutical drugs. I get that. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to hash that out. If you believe that you can treat yourself, there's lots of ways to treat anxiety naturally to help with insomnia, with pain. There's lots of things out there if you're interested in the total natural route. But this gabapentin, again, I wasn't on pharmaceuticals for 20 years. I didn't take meds. I was scared of them. I didn't want them. But with everything we've gone through, that stuff helps a bit. It helps me sleep. It helps a little bit with pain. It's prescribed for neuropathic pain in my case. That's an off-label use. And it also helps a little bit calm you down. It helps a little bit with anxiety. So the action of that drug, the psychiatric action includes an effect on GABA levels, on anxiety, fluoroquinolone use. So if you are dealing with anxiety, I don't think it would hurt to try pharmaceutical drugs like a gabapentin or a benzo, which I didn't try, I didn't take. I do have a background. I did pharmacology trainings in mental health, so I'm familiar with these drugs, and there is a high addiction risk, obviously. So I'm very careful about it. But like I said, low dose of gabapentin. I didn't want the anxiety meds. I didn't want to go down that route. With the muscle relaxers, again, I'm not sure I want to get into that at this point. But she offered them to me for my neck. And she's caught in a script for physical therapy for my neck. So that'll be my next update to see where we're at with that, hoping that it improves. It's a little bit painful and stiff, but it grinds a little bit. So I'm not sure if I've had some cartilage loss. I hope not. Or if it's just because I've been laying down, and some of it will clear up as I get my strength back. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. There's just a lot of stuff that's going on with my body and my joints that I didn't have prior to this experience. So I'm just trying to roll with it. I don't like it. I'm not happy with my activity level, my capacity right now physically. But this is where I'm at, and I've worked really hard just to be where I am now. I can move around. I can drive. I did my own grocery shopping again for the first time about 2 weeks ago. Up until that point, people were doing my shopping for me. So I've come a long way, and I am getting better. I mean, that's your bottom line. I'm getting better. And other people have also gotten better. And I feel like recovery, people always ask for, I don't know, 80%, maybe 85%, I don't know. I mean, not now, but a goal. I'm at least 50 to 60% better from when I was when it first happened. So I've improved dramatically. I'm not going to go out and run. I couldn't even run to the end of the street right now because I still have fear of that rupture. My tendons are still not 100% yet, but I'm building muscle back up in my calves and in my legs. Each day, I'm building distance, progressing with distance, tracking my steps, and I'm going to keep doing that. I have days where I push a lot, and then I have to take a day off, and then days again where I push a lot, and then so if I go and do 6,000 or 7,000, 8,000 steps in a day, then the next day or two, I might be down and out, and not able to do many steps at all. I mean, I wouldn't be able to leave the house, but I feel like I've reached a place in understanding with my body where I can do that now without a lot of fear. I still have some nagging fear about this stuff. Obviously, this is tendon stuff. It's scary, but I'm getting a grasp on it, and I'm getting stronger. And you can get better. It can improve. This video is going to end at 30 minutes. I'm not going to make a second part. Love, peace. Listen to yourself. Find peace and wholeness, and rest, and eat good. Stay away from inflammation foods, and God bless you. I hope that if you're going through it, I don't know what else to say. I have all the love I have, I give. You can get better. You have to get through it, and I'll make another video soon. You folks, take care. Okay, bye-bye.